You're now tuning into
The Cover Gang.
What is going on, Cover Gang? It is time to recap the NFL regular season and how me and Justin done against the spread throughout the year. I am coming to you in a darker setting. I'm in a cave after week 18. What a way to kiss the season off goodbye, Justin. Tyler is stupid. 3-13 against the spread. All four double units. 0-4. And we done the unit count. I'm down 13 and a half units. Is that what you said?
13 total units that you lost in week 18.
13 total units in week 18.
You were sitting up just 23 and a half units on the season. If we account for juice, probably like roughly 20 units up based on your recommendations this year. And just after that slaughter fest you had in week 18, it got you down to about 10 and a half.
Yep, so was sitting pretty good in our pick'em league that we were doing. Was sitting like right in the top 10. Went 1-6 in that. So I don't know. A lot of these, I put 6 dogs in there. Only one favorite, and just went 1-6. Public struck again. All these trends that we talked about last week. We kept trying to play spoiler, and only one team spoiled. The rest of the ones they won and covered. So that being Tennessee, they spoiled Jags' dreams, but Saints.
I think
didn't
I called
get spoiled
that one.
by,
I called that
yeah,
one.
that was one of your double unit plays, but Saints didn't get spoiled by Atlanta. Panthers couldn't even cover against Bucks. Lost 9-0. Baltimore's B team got beat by the Steelers. Just everything, like I said, I think we were chasing that spoiler game so much that we got overconfident. I don't know, but I can't say much because that's by far the worst week I had all year. By far. I think my second to worst week was 7-9.
Yeah,
and I went 3-13 on the last one.
Yeah, and we're going to get into these stats recaps. You were very solid, like through the first 13 weeks or 14 weeks. You were sitting up at your apex at 29 and a half units up. You should have just called it quits right there because you gave up nearly 18, 19, 20 of those units right here in the last 4-week stretch. Yeah, that's the story of the tape when we're looking back. It's like you were consistent and I was more boom or bust. But
and I blame and honestly I blame family. You know, I have to travel to go see them. I don't get to concentrate on these spreads as much. I don't get to do my routine because it's from Thanksgiving on, as you know, you start to think about the holidays, what you're getting people for Christmas, the hustle and bustle, and then football becomes a little bit, thrown to the back of your mind, especially with work and everything. So yeah, thanks a lot, family. I hope you enjoyed your Christmas presents, but the last 4 weeks of the season was not good for me. I did only have to pay in twice, but this past week I have to pay in the most that I've had to pay in all year, and it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good at all. But with that being said, we did do some, I guess you can read off a few more of the regular season statistics that we done, and then we'll go over, because the first video we posted all year was our playoff predictions for the year, and I did do pretty solid in that, so we can talk about that after.
Yeah, let's look at the regular season statistical recap. We did one of these last year, and we looked at the highs and lows of where we placed our confidence and what teams we died on the hill with and shouldn't have, and other things like that. So this year, we were really, really close after that bad week you just had in week 18. I had 135 wins against the spread, 131 losses, 6 pushes, putting me right at 51%. So if you were just taking a regular unit and bet every single one of my games, you would have paid the juice. So I technically, against the spread, I would not have been profitable this year. But if you followed the unit sizes that I had placed, I am sitting up 12 and a half units on the season because double units matter. Placing your half units do matter. That was one of the best things I can say for my side of against the spread, that in double unit plays, I went 20, 12-2. So I was 62.5% against the spread when I wagered double units. And unit and a half games where I was feeling pretty good about it, I went 17-8, which was my best mark against the spread, 68%. And then I was below average at just regular units games where I was just trying to pick the right side. I went 86-93, so 48% win rate in that mark. And for half units, I'm glad because this is a big improvement over last year. I went 12-16 against the spread this year in my half unit games. 42%, just under 43. And last year, it was weird. I was really good at 1-star confidence games. This year, we changed the confidence rating from 1 to 3 stars. We changed that to unit size because it was more practical to keep up with, how we were actually doing with money being placed on the games. And, yeah, it's weird. I have a cool stat right before I get into your win and loss record against all the different unit sizes and overall. It was pretty funny because you bet twice as many half unit games as I did, but you almost bet twice as many double unit games. So you either love the game or just hate them, which makes sense because I'm so much more neutral of a personality wise, I think, and I can play devil's advocate or see both angles, and you're more one side
I'm
of
more
the other.
passionate. Yeah, I'm more
Yeah.
passionate when it comes to oh, this is a trash game, half unit, or I'm
Yeah, you
put
get
the house on it.
you know, selective. You're very selective with your unit. You'll be like, this is a half unit game. You said this is a half unit game. I can say right here 61 times this year. So that's pretty funny. I had 30, but yeah, let's get into your overall records. Your overall wins against the spread this year, 136 and 127 losses. You had 9 pushes. You had 3 more pushes than I did. Right at about 52%. You're 51.7% against the spread. Again, you were up 8 units roughly after, accounting for the juice adjustment on the year. So the unit size is important because while we're under the 4% mark or whatever you need to be to be a profitable bettor, if you don't place the same unit size on every game, it can actually be different. So if we were more accurate with these double unit games, of course, we can still be up on the year. But yeah, your unit and a half games, this was your least likely unit size. You only bet this 13 times on the year. You went 7 and 6. So profitable or, barely profitable in that one, 54%. And then regular units, you were more steady. This is a nice mark, 72 wins, 64 losses, 6 pushes. So 53% against the spread just on your regular, games trying to pick the right side. And then half unit, 28, 31, and 2. So it was your worst mark against the spread. So that's good to see.
What'd you say my double units went?
Double units went 28, 26, and 1. I don't think I mentioned that one.
Yeah, barely over.
51.8.
Yeah, I mean, 28 and 22, that's still not great when that's your highest confidence pick. But yeah, it's week 18. I mean, 0 and 4 on that last one. It just really bit. But I think you had another stat on mine. You said I was doing really well through week 14. I think you mentioned it earlier, but
yeah,
that was the highest that either one of us was up for the year. I got up to almost 30 units up through week 14. Was that right?
Yep. If you had just let off the gas right at week 14, you were sitting up 29.5 units. That was your apex on the year. Mine was a lot earlier than that. In week 9 was my peak. So I should have quit right at the halfway point. I was up 25 units in week 9. It was really smooth sailing for us when I was going back doing some of the math and looking at these games. A lot of those first several weeks, we were not giving up units. We were just going up. We were 3.5 units up here, 8 units up here. You know what I mean? We were 9 and 7, 10 and 6. And even the weeks where there was a week where I went 7 and 9, but I actually was up half unit just because my double unit plays all hit. You know what I mean? So even on
I think I kept getting on here, and maybe I was jinxing myself, but I feel like it was through the first 10 weeks that I did not have. I mean, maybe unit wise, I'd be down 1 or 2 or something, but just picking every game, I never went below 500 for the first 10 weeks.
Yeah, it was insane.
I mean, you hear people that are really that's been gambling for a long time and stuff, and they talk about how fans just crushed the books this year. And to still, I mean, to be honest, as well as I've seen some statistics on these public spreads and favorites covering at an all-time high within the past decade, to be sitting at 51, 52% picking every single game, even though it's week 18 is just such a sour taste in my mouth. I mean, we're coming to you on Thursday just because it took that long for me to digest this. But yeah, we still finished over, overall I paid in a few times. I paid in 4 times all year out of 18 weeks. So I can't complain there. From when we record to when I actually place my bets, there's some line movements sometimes. Sometimes if it was close enough, I'd take a money line and the spread wouldn't hit. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, but I'm paying a good portion of my winnings throughout the year back on this last week, and that's just how it is. The what is it? The Piper? What's the saying? Piper gets its whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, the Piper gets his whatever. I don't know.
You got to pay the Piper. Yeah, I paid it week 18.
Yeah. When I was looking at like our best performances, like by week, week 14 was my best performance, 10-4 against the spread. I was up 8 units in that week. Your best week was week 4. You were 10-6, up 5.5 units, and you had a lot of those weeks where you were up 3.5 to like 6, like somewhere right there. And you would just keep doing that. I had more where it was like lost 3 here, I'm up 7. I would have weeks where I was up big, like 8 or 7 units, and then I would have weeks also where I gave it back. So it's like I was swinging a lot more inconsistently. It seemed like. But yeah,
all the way until week 18, and then I just dove off a hill. I was headed down to Miami to watch that game. It was a good time, by the way. Yeah, it was a good game. Bills came back and beat the Dolphins, but it was Josh Allen running all over the place, turned the ball over 3 times. I recorded that touchdown that I was sitting in one of the end zones. So the touchdown that he threw that got batted up in the air, and the first touchdown he threw, and then got caught by it was some no-name receiver, I believe, in the back of the end zone. I got that on my phone or whatever, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we had a good time, long drive, but it was cool.
I hate that it didn't go the way we were wanting. Like, I wanted the Dolphins to win that one. I felt pretty good about it, but my biggest play by far and away was the Titans that week, and I did sprinkle the money line because I just had that feeling that they were gonna spoil them. But yeah, it was a disappointing last few weeks of the year. Even the holiday weeks, we did pretty bad. We would go like 4-8-1. I think we didn't disagree on any games one of the holiday weeks. I think it was Christmas maybe or Thanksgiving, but yeah, it's I think there's definitely, like we go through this experiment to see if we can beat Vegas, so you guys don't have to. Don't ever put yourself through picking every single NFL game. That is just it's a slugfest. It takes forever. It's a marathon, like you said. I think I was watching one of those early videos, and you said it's a marathon, not a sprint. I'm like, yeah, I like that. Yep.
It is, but I mean, 2 consecutive years finishing over 50%. First 2 years, us getting on here and giving recommendations out. So don't hate it. Wish we could have took the success you had through week 9, I had through week 14, and ended the season that way. Cards just didn't work out in our favors, but it is what it is. But let's get into some more things that we actually got decently right. Let's get into these playoff predictions and how many teams we guessed right out of that.
Yeah. I think when I was going back and listening, and you can go over the exact details, but in general, I was more accurate picking the chalk, like higher favorite seeds, like the Chiefs and the 49ers, the Cow. Like I was more correct in the easy to pick seeds. You were more correct in how many teams you got right in the playoffs. I think I was 7 out of 14 teams right, and you got 10, I believe.
Yeah, I got 10 out of 14. Yeah, I was a little, I said San Fran would go through some injuries, and Seattle would steal the division, but they'd still make a wild card. That obviously they locked up the 1 seed, stay pretty healthy all year. But Seattle was one of the teams. I guess you can say the Rams took their spot, and then I had Atlanta to win the South, and the Bucks won. So that was the two I missed on the NFC side. AFC side, I did have the Bengals to make the playoffs. I guess you can say the Steelers took that position. But Joe Burrow got hurt. He was battling through injury to begin the season. Then he had season-ending surgery. So I mean, that's it is what it is. But I had the Jags were actually my 1 seed in the AFC because I thought they'd be beaten up on a bad division, and Colts and Houston both came to play. So that was the other one I got. But the rest of them I got right. I picked Browns, Dolphins.
We got the South divisions completely wrong. If it's anything that I learned, looking at two of the worst, we considered them the weakest divisions on both sides of the conference, the AFC and the NFC South, is maybe consider a future bet on that third or fourth team if that's a really weak division, because that's exactly what played out this year. It was not the one or the two, as far as odds go, favorite odds for the division winners. It was not the Falcons, it was not the Saints, it was the Bucks. And we pretty much counted them out. And the AFC South, we went chalk with the Jaguars, but I was kind of thinking possibly the Titans would be up there, but no, it's the Texans. So yeah, it's something to think about in the future. If the division's really bad, maybe we throw a third seed flyer in there, or even a fourth maybe, for the nice payout.
I think you said it off air too, and I somewhat agree that the Jaguars are probably the most disappointing team all year, because we really expected Trevor Lawrence to take a step. He was in top 5 as far as chances to win MVP. He was in top 3 projected passing yards this year before the season started.
When they went to London too, they were on a burner, and they looked like they were finally coming into form. They were, road favorites.
I think they were 8-3 at one point, and then they just. It was the opposite of last year. Last year they started off really bad, and then they ended the season on a tear, won the division, and then won a playoff game. This year they started off good, and then just completely, fell off going down the stretch.
Trevor Lawrence has been not super impressive. I mean, we have to be real with it. As much.
Well, don't you remember last year at the beginning of the season, I was calling like nobody's talking about Trevor Lawrence, and that he's supposed to be this prince that was promised. This he's supposed to be a no-brainer, all-time generational talent, and he's not playing like it. And then they stepped up and they ended up making a run and I was like, they're going to carry that over into the season, and they did. And maybe the injury stuff has some validity to it, but still, he was out there and he got beat by bad teams a lot of the time.
Oh yeah.
So whatever.
And Calvin Ridley was not. That's what happens. Just when you take time away from football, not ever good. Like we've seen it with Deshaun, we see it with him. When you take a year or two off, that's just enough for you to get out of the swing of it.
Yep.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. To keep it on a high level of our regular season recap, it's time for the wild card weekend. We got a lot of playoff discussions. Make sure you click the next video. We're going to be giving all of our picks for this wild card weekend. Excited to go over that and nail it down with you, Tyler. I think we might disagree on just a few games this wild card weekend. I don't love the games. I don't love them from a betting perspective, but I'm hopeful that after this wild card weekend, the divisional round is going to be super nice. So
yeah, after 3-13, it's only up from here, right?
Oh yeah,
unless I go like 0-6 or something. So
you set the bar pretty low.
But yeah, tune into that video. We'll spend a little bit more. Where it's only 6 games, we'll spend a little bit more time talking about why we're choosing the sides. But yeah, we'll cover the spread, baby.
As always, peace.
Peace.